Brighton versus Manchester United preview. Pogba story develops further and a lot more. It is the United Stand. You're very welcome, and we'll fly straight into it. The headline is Pogba will still be Jose Mourinho's captain on Sunday. And I think this is something that maybe nobody wants to discuss, but I certainly do, because we've got Jose Mourinho's press conference tomorrow. It's 2 o'clock UK time. We'll be live more or less straight afterwards, getting the reactions to that. I think it's going to be a good one. But I paint a scenario for you. Manchester United play Brighton on Sunday, which we want to talk about in this show. We do want to talk about the football, you know. I think United fans have got to try and pull it back to the football, and we certainly on the United Stand are going to try and do that. But let me paint this scenario for you. Manchester United beat Leicester 2-1. Paul Pogba's captain, arguably man of the match. Yeah, there's been a bit of stories today. Manchester United play Brighton on Sunday. Paul Pogba's not captain. That becomes a huge problem and vindicates all the negative stories that are around at this moment in time. Pogba still captain on Sunday. What a statement that would be from Jose Mourinho to remove that from him. Because Valencia's not going to be back for Sunday. You're not going to give it to Fellaini, are you? Surely not. And that team on my left is my predicted team that I did yesterday with the power Brendan. I'm going to talk about how I would like us to talk about in a minute. But that's not relevant for the moment. So I think Jose Mourinho will still keep Paul Pogba as captain. In fact, I'm very sure he will do. Because I can't see of a scenario where it doesn't go that way. However, developments. That's why we do these shows. There has been some developments. First of all, let me start. I was going to start off with Paul Ince. I'm going to start off with Neil Custis. Now, Neil Custis, if you watched at lunchtime, he's the Sun journalist who has got very good links to Manchester United. If anybody follows Phil Brown on or at Malachians on Twitter, he's come out and defended him as well. I'm not going to defend the Sun. I'm not going to defend Neil Custis. That's not my job to do that. What I would say is that he was right about Rooney leaving. He was right about Lukaku coming last summer. And he has got good connections with United. But you believe it or not. James Cooper at the Sky Sports said Manchester United press office have contacted him and said it's not true. Neil Custis has come back tonight and he said, for those retweeting James Cooper knocking down my story, it's a lot harder to get a story than to simply knock one down because a press officer tells you to. The story is bang on. So he is saying that the story is bang on, and that just because James Cooper gets a phone call from the Manchester United press office saying it's not true, what do you want to believe? And you believe what you want to do. To be honest with you, I can't sit on the fence. What do I believe? I just don't know. I can't say I don't know what to believe. I think that, to be honest, I think it's irrelevant. That's what I'm going to say. It doesn't matter what I believe because I think it's irrelevant. Paul Pogba will be Manchester United captain against Brighton. Paul Pogba, to leave Manchester United, would have to hand a transfer request in, which he won't do. Manchester United need to resolve the issue between Mourinho and Pogba. I think Jose Mourinho will come out tomorrow in the press conference and say there is no issue. Doesn't mean it's not true. Means they're keeping it in-house, which is exactly what they should do. Paul Ince has come out and said that Manchester United should cash in on Paul Pogba, that he's disrespected the club, that he put in a good performance as captain against Leicester, and then he made it all about him, and then it's not acceptable. Quite interesting that Paul Ince would do that. I'm old enough to remember Paul Ince at Manchester United. I'm old enough to remember why Sir Alex Ferguson wanted rid of Paul Ince from Manchester United. Paul Ince was sold the summer before the class of 92. The summer before that first game we lost to Aston Villa and you can't win it with kids. Ince, Hughes and Kanchelskis were sold that summer. We started the new season with the class of 92. Keane, Cantona and Schmeichel were the experienced players. And Bruce and Pallister, I believe, were still there as well. Ince was got rid of because Sir Alex Ferguson didn't like his big time Charlie, self-proclaimed governor tag. So it's a bit rich from Paul Ince. Not a lot of you lot will know. You'll just know Paul Ince as a pundit, I suppose. But I'm old enough to remember him as a Manchester United player. I'm also old enough to remember him going to bloody Liverpool. But Paul Ince was Mr. Self-proclaimed governor. So him coming out talking about Paul Pogba, that does reek to me of I'm going to throw some negativity at Manchester United. I'm going to try and make a name for myself on this story. That, Neil Custis believes what he's written. United have put the press office response out. Paul Ince coming out and saying Manchester United should cash in on Paul Pogba. I don't think that helps anybody, and I don't really think it's valid. I really don't. But we'll come back to that in a moment. Sam House says to someone say Charlie. No way he starts Fellaini, says Ryan Mullally. I hope not. We'll come to that in a minute. But this is something I want to bring into the show a little bit when we can do it. We won't be able to do it for every game, but it's Manchester United versus Brighton. It's Brighton versus Manchester United. And we're going to do a preview. And we're going to talk about it on this show. But last season, Manchester United did play Brighton. So we're going to do this on the preview. So smash the like button if you like it. It's only going to be about a minute, but this was Brighton versus Manchester United. Match reaction back in May. We lost 1-0. 1, Manchester United 0. Another embarrassing result for Manchester United. Forged and built on a sandcastle that was just never going to stand up. Never going to stand up. Not surprised. Not surprised. I'm not. You know what? The worst thing of this is I'm not even surprised.
You're not surprised
or that. Well, I am angry, but I'm not ranting. I mean, I think anybody who starts going, "Oh, bloody disgrace, Jose out, this, that, and the other," I don't feel that. I don't feel that. And we are going to take your calls, but I don't feel that because I don't feel surprised. We are not playing Manchester United football that I know and you know. It is poor. It's boring. It's easy to get at, but. There's two things really for me that stand out from that game. One, how ironic it is that in the last 10 minutes we needed a Fellaini and we started with him, which we never should have done. And two, quite rightly number 2, the right back, Darmian. Surely there's somebody who can play right back in the youth setup because he's atrocious. And
interesting that, isn't it? The last 2 points we're talking about Fellaini and Darmian at right back, which we're still doing this season. But yeah, we lost to Brighton at the back end of last season. We played a midfield 3 of Fellaini, Matic and Pogba. It didn't really work very well. The midfield is the big area that United have so far improved on with Fred and Pereira. So yeah, Manchester United versus Brighton on Sunday. Let's bring it to the football for a few minutes. I've done my research. I've looked at it. I watched the video from last year. Brighton and Hove Albion lost their opening game of the season 2-0 to Watford. They played very, very badly. Chris Hughton was not happy. They hardly tested. Ben Foster in goal for Watford. They were very, very poor. They also suffered quite a major injury to their centre-back and captain Bruno, who went off with a hamstring injury, so he won't play. They've bought a few players over the summer, but they're keeping with their core players. Now, it's a dangerous game for Manchester United, but realistically, keeping on track of what matters, this should be another 3 points for Manchester United. And on Sunday night, 3 points, 6 points after 2 games is positive, and that's what we need to focus on. So forget all the Pogba stuff for a minute. Let's talk about Manchester United versus Brighton. My score prediction yesterday was 3-1. I don't know what a lot of you think. I think 3-1 might be a little bit greedy and over the top, but I do think that we will win this game because I think that Manchester United, when you look at Brighton, very workmanlike, very hard-working, tend to play a 4-4-1-1 and it becomes a 4-5-1. Their best 2 players, I would say, are the midfielders, Proper and is it Gruss or something like that. They're their best players. They've got lots of options in and around the midfield. But I think United, especially with Eric Bailly fit, won't have too many problems against them defensively. We've got to create chances offensively. And I certainly think when you look at that team to my right, that was my predicted 11. I hope this isn't going to happen because what I genuinely don't want to see is Fellaini back. But Mourinho has dropped a lot of hints this week. He has mentioned Marouane Fellaini a hell of a lot, and that is what worries me in the context of this game because I just have this feeling he might play him. But obviously, I want it to be Pereira. And if it is Pereira, Pogba and Fred, and you know what, I think a lot of you might be right with that. If it is, I think that Pogba, Pereira and Fred will be more than enough to counter what is Brighton's strongest area, which is their midfield. So if we do that, Lukaku back. I've gone with Martial and Sanchez because I hope he's going to do that. But, maybe it'll be Lingard and Sanchez. I don't mind. I don't care. It's Jose's decision. I think we'll have more than enough to beat Brighton. And I think it's almost the perfect first away game of the season for United because if we were to lose this, it would be a massive issue. This is the sort of game that we would lose last season. Remember Huddersfield in October. We obviously lost to Brighton in May. We lost to Newcastle. We lost to all the promoted teams last year. So this is a perfect game for United because this is the sort of banana skin that undermined our season last season. A game that we go into it and go, look at the quality we've got. Look at the quality they've got. We should be winning this game. So we need to go and impose ourselves. We need to go on the front foot. Brighton sort of won't want to lose 2 on the bounce in the first 2 games of the season. So I'm confident that we're going to win it. I'm confident that United are going to go and express themselves. And to be honest with you, any football team, the engine room is the midfield. And I think United have resolved those midfield issues. And also, Matic isn't going to be back, so that's fine. Hopefully, Fellaini will be kept to the bench and he'll stick with the same midfield 3. But be wary of Brighton. They will work hard. And it's the sort of game, like we lost in May, like we lost at Huddersfield, if we don't impose ourselves on the game early and we don't create chances, Brighton will get a chance at some point, and it's the sort of game that we'll either win it 3-1 or we'll lose it 1-0. But I'm confident that we can get this. Somebody says 2-0 there. Martial needs a chance, says Rayon. And Jose out, no signs of change. One game changes, nothing, says Aaron O'Brien. Well, again, all I can say back to you there, Aaron, is this game, Dart's injured, by the way, Red Devils. This game is the second game of the season, so we would quite rightly be expecting some progress. I've been very positive. Some of you have been very positive. There was glimpses against Leicester. You'd expect to see more than a glimpse against Brighton. Brighton, I hate to say this. I hate to say this to Brighton fans, but I think you're going to get relegated. So that's what I think of Brighton on Sunday. I think we need to see better Manchester United, not just glimpses like against Leicester. We need to see a more consistent both half performance, and also we need to see a win. We need to see chances created. So it is a good game for United, especially with Spurs on the horizon after that. We need to go and win this game of football. And I certainly think that we will do. I think we've got the players to do it. And when you look at that lineup there, if that was the lineup, De Gea, Lindelof, Bailly, Young coming in at right back, Shaw staying at left back, Pereira, Fred, Pogba, Martial, Lukaku, Sanchez, that's a bloody good 11. I mean, obviously I don't think I'm going to get that quite right. I suspect that maybe Martial will be on the bench again. But that's a very, very good 11. And that's a team that if it plays to its capabilities and is allowed to go forward, will cause Brighton problems. And I think that's the big key against Brighton. Mourinho's got to let us go forward. Let's not. A big test for Jose. He knows he lost to the 3 promoted teams last season, including Brighton. Is he going to keep that in his back pocket and be pragmatic and defensive and say, let's grind out a result? Or is he going to do what Liverpool, Man City, Spurs and Chelsea will do when they go to Brighton and win 3 or 4-0? That's what we need to do. We need to see that sort of a message from United, because sitting back and not creating chances will that's how you lose games 1-0. Let's get at them. Let's go at them. Let's be assertive and win this game of football. I certainly think that we can do. Shaw should be left back, says Michael Jones. I'd be stunned if Luke Shaw was dropped at the weekend. I really would. I think Sanchez should be dropped and Rashford, Martial and Lukaku up front. What you say, Mark, says Adam Holmes. I don't expect Alexis Sanchez to be dropped against Brighton, but I think Alexis Sanchez is now suffering with confidence issues, which, best played player in the Premier League, should he be suffering with confidence issues? Well, whether he should or he shouldn't, I think he is. I think the thing with Sanchez at the weekend was that he really did, against Leicester, he really did hog that touchline, which is what we want him to do, so Pogba can move forward into that square that Sanchez normally comes across into. But he is suffering with confidence issues. I think he's overdoing it. I think sometimes he gets the ball in good positions and he tries to do the silly pass, keep it simple, keep the ball rocking over. Didn't have a shot on goal against Leicester, so that part of his game's not his fault. That's the creative side, and we do need to be more creative. But Sanchez, when he gets the ball, he needs to be doing more with the ball. And I don't know whether a player that, to me, is suffering with confidence, dropping him, is that the solution or not? I don't know. Let me know in the live comments. Smash the lesser sides and play for results against the top 6, says Said. It will never be the way we want, Mark, says SB. We will win this, then the wheel will come off. The wheel will come off against Tottenham, says Devil's Aces. Tottenham's going to be a very, very tough game. A very, very tough game. But that's not for now, is it? I would imagine by the time Tottenham comes up, we'll have 3 or 4 or 5 more stories about Pogba, a couple about Martial wanting to leave, De Gea leaving. We're going to have it all, aren't we? We've got to batten down the hatches to some extent, because I think that's going to happen with Manchester United quite a lot. Paul Robinson says, Alexis Sanchez lost the ball 23 times last game. What the hell is that all about? And have you ever thought the big surprise Zlatan could have been talking about is Delort being our right winger and smashing it? Bale went from left back to left winger, says Sadiq Hussain. I think Zlatan was talking a load of nonsense, to be honest. I think Zlatan's little surprise was just about Zlatan getting a headline. What is the big surprise that Mourinho's got in store for us? Because there was no big surprise. And if it's Zlatan coming back on loan, forget about it. I'm not interested in that. We should have signed Ronaldo or Bale instead of Sanchez, says Red Devils. What do you think of Mourinho's future, says Manchester United fan Stand? I'm glad you said that, because it's something I tweeted just before I came live. You know, all this talk of director of football, I don't think I've said this so far. I certainly tweeted it off my account at Mark Goldbridge. If Manchester United appoint a director of football, Mourinho will leave. Do people not realise that? If we appoint a director of football, Jose Mourinho will leave Manchester United. He might not walk out the club straight away, but he'll go next summer. So director of football, I think, will happen next summer, and Jose Mourinho will leave. There's no point in doing it in the season, and I don't think we will. But there's just no way Jose Mourinho is going to stay at Manchester United if we appoint a director of football. And we are going to appoint a director of football. So if we are going to do that, Mourinho's gone in the next year. Because there is no way Jose Mourinho, and I sort of agree with him here, Jose Mourinho has said in the past that he doesn't want a director of football. Jose Mourinho was appointed as Manchester United manager to oversee the team, the transfers, everything. We had a disastrous transfer window where they didn't back him. To stay at a club where you are not listened to about transfers anymore and a director of football takes over, Jose Mourinho loses a percentage of his ownership. He loses a percentage of his authority. Jose Mourinho has got too much of a history and ego to accept that. He won't. He will be humiliated by it. So Jose Mourinho is going to leave Manchester United if and when we appoint a director of football. And if we appoint the director of football during the season, he will go in the summer, I think. I don't think he'll walk out straight away. But I firmly believe that. That's not speculation. That's not anything in the news. That's nothing. That is just totally my opinion. But if you know anything about Jose Mourinho, how's he going to react when he gets part of his job taken off him? He's going to take it as a snub, and he's not going to be very happy, and he will leave Manchester United. Mourinho wants all the power. Brand Mourinho, says Samuel R. Well, I think Mourinho's situation at Manchester United, when you look at it, actually isn't that good. Didn't get the players he wanted in the summer. Paul Pogba has sort of undermined him, let's be honest, in the last week. However, whatever the story is true, Jose Mourinho built him up all week, said he was brilliant, and then Pogba came out after the game, never mentioned Mourinho, and said, sort of made out that there was a bit of an issue there. So he's losing his authority. He's not being backed in the dressing room. There's a talk of a director of football, which is a blatant snub of him. Not all the fans are behind him. Mourinho's got... I've said it before, Mourinho needs a miracle to turn this around, and I hope he can do it, because that will be beneficial towards Manchester United. But just going back to the Pogba thing for a moment, one thing that Jose Mourinho needs to be very, very careful about here, and this is why I think in the press conference tomorrow, he'll come out and be very positive about Paul Pogba again. He can't afford not to be, because listen to what Luke Shaw said, and the Manchester United Twitter account put this out this morning, and it was something along the lines of Luke Shaw saying what a great person Paul Pogba is and how influential he is on the pitch. So that's one of our players backing Paul Pogba, which you would expect. And Paul Pogba, you can see Pogba's obviously popular with Lingard, and Lingard's very popular in the dressing room, and Lukaku and Pogba get on, and Martial and Pogba get on, and Bailly and Pogba get on. I don't know how Pogba gets on with Fellaini or Darmian or Valencia, but Pogba's very, very popular. And what Jose Mourinho cannot afford to have again is a dressing room being lost or even fragmented. So, again, he's in a very difficult situation. I don't know. I mean, some people will say it's great because Mourinho's basically got to bow down to some of these players or lose his job. But I don't ever think that's a good situation. A manager has got to be respected. Whether you agree with that manager or not, he's got to be respected, because a manager's job is far more than picking a team. They've got to go for the media, they've got to represent the club, they've got to, there's so many levels to that. And if they're undermined by the board or the players or whatever, then their job becomes pretty much hard. Because what about when there's a bad result? And Mourinho's in the dressing room saying that bad result's on you. This is what I'm coming at. So if he is losing respect in the dressing room and Pogba doesn't respect him, let's just use it as an example, and we lose to Brighton because Pogba has a bad game and he goes in the dressing room and says that's unacceptable, where's his authority? So this all needs to get sorted out very quickly, because we've got a big season ahead of us, and you can't have a manager who's lost his authority, because he may as well just go and get a new manager in. We may as well do that. So it is a concern, but I feel that Manchester United will manage it quite well now. I think the club are trying to manage it and keep it in-house. I think Mourinho will certainly come out positive tomorrow and keep it in-house. I'm not expecting fireworks, but you just never know. And at the end of the day, we need to be Manchester United and we need to be United. But I don't think it's a massive... I mean, I don't think it will happen, but I don't know what you lot think. I don't think we're a million miles away from Mourinho just walking. I don't think he will because of the moolah, but it's not ideal. Lynn Hall says Pogba cannot act like he's in charge. He's supposed to be Jose's man. If he's captain, he shouldn't be challenging Jose. I just want to ask a few people in the live comments, actually. Where do you stand on this? Do you think that there is anything in these rumours? I mean, forget that it's Neil Custis in the Sun, because I think Neil Custis sometimes is very accurate, but I know there's a lot of negativity around the Sun. Do you think there is anything in this, or do you think it's just total and utter paper talk? Let me know in the live comments, and maybe add a little bit of that. Do you want Mourinho to leave, says Adam Music Vivo? No. I know I said then, but no, I don't. I think it's very sad, the situation, because all I really want to focus on is the football. But, you get people saying, well, you're feeding the negativity, Mark, on the United stand. Come on. We're a fan channel. We're not affiliated to the club. We're not affiliated to Jose Mourinho. We're not affiliated to Paul Pogba. The only people we're affiliated is to you, the fans. And if Manchester United is a big story like it is today, talking about Pogba versus Mourinho, of course we're going to talk about it as a fan channel. We've got to. We have a responsibility to talk about it. So, but I don't. As I said at lunchtime, and as I say now, I think it's irrelevant, because Pogba will be captain on Sunday. If he's not captain on Sunday, we're in for a world of pain. So he has to be captain on Sunday. And he will be captain on Sunday. And I think he'll put in a good performance, because as he said himself, he's never not going to do that for the fans and the teammates. So I think this is scalable. And I think that losing a manager at the start of the season, even if you replaced him with a Zidane, is not ideal, because Zidane comes in, hasn't got the summer to get the players he wants in and out. Be a very, very difficult job. And I think those people who think Zidane would take the job, maybe he would, but actually it could be a bloody nightmare as a new man. I mean, look at Klopp. He came into Liverpool in around October time, didn't he? And had a very bad start, comparable to what he's got to now. It's not ideal. So losing your manager at this stage of the season is not good. So I don't want Mourinho to go. The only reason I would want Mourinho to go is if it escalated so much that there was an issue between him and Pogba, that he was losing the dressing room. And I think at that point, I would have to say he needs to go, because long term, I don't think Mourinho was ever going to be our manager long term. He's a short term manager with the aim of winning us a title. In the first 2 years, he's not done that. He's got to do it this year. How can he do it if he's lost some of the key players? So I'd say he'd have to go, because, and it's a weird one, because when it's manager against players, there's a great quote from Sir Alex saying, you kick them out if they turn on you. You'd normally always, and quite rightly, you should always back the manager over any player, because the manager is the manager. But in this situation, I think there are so many factors to it that if it did come down to Pogba or Mourinho, as long as Pogba was committed to the club, if Mourinho went, I probably would say Pogba. And I hate saying that, but I probably would, because I think this is Mourinho's last year anyway. And if it got to that point where it was a choice between the two, then Mourinho's obviously lost his authority anyway. So he may as well go, and we may as well build again. But that would be a horrible situation. Sad to hear you compare Klopp to Zidane, says Mark. No, I'm not. Obviously, I'm not doing that, and I can see the laughing emoji. But what I'm saying is it's not ideal. Doesn't matter who you are as a manager. It's not ideal to come into a club in August, September, October. You want to be coming in May and having a summer to sort things out. Back the manager. If we don't lose 3, 4, 5 games straight, back the manager. He's still the coach of the greatest club in the world. Pressure from the fans does not help. You must understand, says Alec Cam. I don't think there is any pressure on Mourinho at the moment. It's very rare that a fan base turns on a manager because of what's going on in the press. I can't think of that ever happening. It has happened, but I can't really think of it happening. Mourinho, as Alex says, will be judged on performances. That is quite right. And that's why Brighton at the weekend's big, because I think if we played badly against Brighton and dropped points, even a draw, that would ignite a lot of anger. I think we will win. And the positivity hopefully will build from that. But yeah, Mourinho, regardless of what the negativity is around him, Mourinho is always one bad result away from stick. I mean, look at me talking about the Brighton game back in May. We were in second place then. And, you know, I'm talking about sand and not surprised, you know. So because of the way Mourinho plays football with a team that should play differently, Mourinho's only ever one bad result away anyway. But it's going to be very interesting. I mean, to be honest with you, I don't like what's happened today. I find it very embarrassing, as I said at lunchtime. I don't like this negativity around Manchester United. We have to talk about it, but I don't like it. I want to talk about the football. I'm very excited about Brighton. It's another Premier League game. It's another 3 points. And I want to see Fred and Pereira and Luke Shaw playing again. Another game for Eric Bailly, who I think is fantastic. I mean, if he can stay fit, I'm confident that we're going to have a very, very good season in relation to not conceding many goals, especially De Gea. I mean, De Gea against Leicester, we hardly mentioned it. He pulled out 2 worldies, just pulled them out the back of his pocket. So there are Lukaku back. He's going to score a lot of goals. So I want to focus on the team. And I think, to be honest with you, like many things in football, for all the negativity, and yes, I do agree that Paul Pogba should come out and say there's no problem with Mourinho, and that's the big problem. But you can answer your critics and you can silence your critics on the football pitch, and that's what United need to do. Would our football be better if Jose left? We have the nucleus of a good side if it's allowed to play, says Sally Devil Red 7. And I think that's a fantastic question by Sally, and get replying in the comments. Would the football be better if Mourinho left? For me, it's a categoric yes. Unless we got Tony Pulis in or Sam Allardyce. As long as we brought in a manager that was not park the bus long ball, then the football would be better. I mean, I don't think anybody is going to sit here and say that the football under Mourinho is easy to watch. It's not. It was never meant to be. But if it brought success, it was going to be one of those things that we would accept. So the football would improve with a different manager. But I'm not at that stage where I just say replace him because the football would be better. I do and have always said that I feel that he deserves this 3rd year, because there is definitely, if you look at a graph of Mourinho taking over United and where we are now, it's definitely a steady progression. It definitely is. It might not be the progress that we want, but it is progression. And it'd be very harsh to sack a manager based on that. You can get sacked for losing a dressing room, though. You can get sacked for being a negative influence, which is why I don't think we'll see much of that from Jose anymore. Soph E says, do you think Sanchez is the reason for the Pogba unrest? Some people think that a brand new contract for Paul Pogba will resolve all this issue. Some people think that because Sanchez is paid a lot more than money than Pogba, it's unsettled Pogba. I don't necessarily think that's true. But actually, if I was a player at Manchester United and I saw the money that Sanchez was getting, I would be quite pissed off with it. I'm sorry to swear, but I would, because he's done sod all in a United shirt. He's actually been very poor. So you would be looking at that and going, not only has he been brought in and he's obliterating my wages, he's not earning them either. So, it could be an issue, but I don't necessarily think it is. Joe, I think it goes more back to being humiliated against Spurs back in January when he was substituted, Pogba. Josie Tutu said, just look at the respective history. Jose Mourinho has had issues in most clubs he has coached. Pogba has never had these problems with any manager. Well, I didn't follow Pogba's relationship at Juventus, but Pogba did have a little bit of an issue with Sir Alex Ferguson. Not directly, but his agent caused that problem. And Sir Alex Ferguson doesn't have many nice things to say about Mino Raiola. And I think in that situation, for anybody who's old enough to remember it, Manchester United and Sir Alex Ferguson certainly wanted Paul Pogba to be a big star of the future. They just wanted him to be patient. Pogba refused to be patient, and Raiola got him the move to Juventus. Now, whether that was Pogba or whether that was Raiola, Pogba decided to go. If he was that in love with the club, he would have stayed. And Sir Alex Ferguson definitely would have used him more. He just wasn't ready to use him at that time. And Sir Alex Ferguson's judgment of young players is unquestioned. So Pogba was a little bit impatient in that, and I don't think Mino Raiola helped it. But that's my take on it. Some people might have a different one. Darren Kavanagh, could you see the players playing against Jose's style and not listening to him? Well, that's mutiny on the bounty, and I can't see that happening now. I think Ander Herrera is a great example of a player that's not playing how they can play and has suddenly lost the ability to pass forward. That comes from the manager. Pogba is always impatient, says Lynn Hall. There is no doubt whatsoever Sanchez should be dropped in favour of Martial, says John T. Malari. And if Jose wants to leave, save his reputation and show he's the special one, then he will hopefully do the right thing on and off the pitch, says Callum Saunders. It's exactly what we said, isn't it, after the Sevilla game? If he doesn't change, it will be the long goodbye. Every Manchester United fan knows it. If he keeps playing this slow, pragmatic, defensive football, if he keeps playing Phil Jones, Ashley Young at left back and Fellaini in the midfield, he might grind out a few results, but he will lose his job in the long run, and United will not be successful, and his reputation will be in tatters. It's factual. It's whether Jose, who is renowned for being stubborn, can remove that stubbornness from him and see what he needs to do. There were glimpses against Leicester. There's been signs with what he's doing with his midfield with Fred. I don't think Fred was a Mourinho signing in a million years. He's not tall. He's not slow. He can pass the ball. He can move with the ball. He is a bit of a flair player. So I do think that Jose is aware of it. It's whether he can do it. And we need to see those improvements against Brighton. So many excuses for players' failures, says Mr. GTS92. Jose, get out, says Imperial. And Michael Hubbard says, get top 4 this year and invest in Jose's 4th year. I don't think that's going to be a very popular comment, Michael. I don't think many Manchester United fans want a 4th year from Mourinho. I think for Mourinho to get a 4th year, and I don't think he'll have a 4th year. Like I said, I think we will appoint a director of football. I think Mourinho will want to leave. I think it will be an amicable parting of ways in the summer if we get top 4. If we don't get top 4, he'll be sacked before then. The only scenario I can see Jose Mourinho staying for a 4th year is if we win the league, and then the football would have to have changed for us to do that, and we finally get what we want from him. I think if the football stays the same and we don't win the title, he will go. Board don't back the manager, says Andrew Griffiths. And Ronaldo was going to come to United, but he didn't want to be a defender, says Sasha. I don't think he was coming because I don't think United were in for him. And partly to do with Mourinho, I would suspect. Good question here from Man United fan Stan. He says, who do you think will be our star player this season? I don't think anybody's actually asked that question, so get in the live comments with that. I think Manchester United's star player this year, I'm going to say 2. As an outsider, I think Andreas Pereira could be. I think the form that he's shown on the tour and against Leicester all depends on whether Mourinho will stick with him when Matic is fit, which I think he won't do, but I think Andreas Pereira could be our player of the year. Obviously, I think De Gea will probably win it because I think we will do a lot of defending. But I also think there are 1 or 2 players that could be on the cusp of it. I mean, Lukaku's a good candidate. Pogba's not going to be sold, so why can't he be our player of the year? I'll tell you who I'd love to be our player of the year, someone like Alexis Sanchez, because if he was, that would mean that he's fulfilled his potential that we bought. But as an outsider, a Pereira, and I think I would then go probably De Gea or Pogba. Tom Smith says Bay is a really bad Van Dijk. Van Dijk's having a good seat. Van Dijk is a good centre back, but I think Eric Bay is better, and I think that this loving for Van Dijk is based on 8 months. He was at Southampton at the start of January. He's done well for Liverpool, but 8 months. I think Eric Bay. I wouldn't swap Eric Bay for Van Dijk. I wouldn't. And I know Liverpool fans wouldn't swap Van Dijk for Bay, but I think Bay's thing is about staying fit. I think he's an absolutely fantastic defender. And yeah, I back Bay. Backer, we're way ahead of you on that James Cooper thing. Martial Player of the Year, says Dia. I would be very surprised, but I would be very happy as well. Right, thanks everybody for watching. Now let me tell you what's going to go on tomorrow. Please do drop a like on the video. Let's see if we can get 500 likes before we go. Our next video is going to be tomorrow at 2 o'clock because Jose Mourinho's press conference is at 2 o'clock. So we will be live straight after that, normally about 10 past 2. Really looking forward to that. We always do the live show after a Jose Mourinho press conference. So 2 o'clock tomorrow is our next show live after Jose Mourinho's press conference. I'll bring you everything he said and our reaction to it and your reaction as well. So that's our next show. Obviously live at 8 o'clock tomorrow night, and then we're into the weekend with the game on Sunday. So loads to get involved with on the United stand. Also going to give myself a shout out, Mark Goldbridge channel. Goldbridge live stream it's called, every day a 10-minute video that goes up in the morning. I've got a very good video going up tomorrow morning. It's called Goldbridge Reads Mean Tweets. You can sort of read between the lines what that's going to be about. But I'm very close to 15,000 subscribers as well, so please get over there and give it a subscribe. Apart from that, have a fantastic evening. Get your comments in below. I'm going 3-1 against Brighton. I think Pogba will be captain. And I think Mourinho is going to come out tomorrow and be quite positive. And I hope that we can continue that positivity in the fan base. So give us your comments below. You might think I'm talking nonsense as usual, but there you go. Thanks for watching. Speak to you all soon. Thanks for all the comments on both videos today. It's been a weird day, not a great day, but we'll fight back. We are Manchester United, and we just need some leadership in that club. It's nothing that can't be resolved. Nothing that a good sort out won't solve. Thanks for watching. And also drop us a like or give us a comment if you like me pulling in the previous season's game. So like at the start of the video, I did the Brighton Manchester United 1-0 loss. I just put a little clip of my initial match reaction to that. If you like that, let me know. Speak to you all soon.